Hi, this is Bruce Rawles, and I'm speaking with Lyn Corona today. And Lyn is one of my favorite Course in Miracles colleagues for many years. And some years ago, Lyn started the School of Reason, which has been transformed into a School for A Course in Miracles. And she and Tim Wise in Denver, Colorado have been doing some wonderful classes. And I'm very grateful to say that I've been a happy recipient and participant in their programs for a number of years, and just can't say enough good things about the work you're doing generally. So you and Tim both, Tim Wise, that is. Anyway, so without further ado, please welcome Lyn Corona and to ACIM blog, which I think we was just looking in the archives, and I think it's been about 8 years since we had a conversation that we posted on this site. So anyway, thank you for talking with me today, and for being such a tremendous positive influence in my life. So
thank you, Bruce. Yeah, Bruce and I go a ways back. When I first, even before School of Reason, I remember I had a website, started a website, and Bruce helped me get that going. Gosh, Bruce, I don't know. I feel like I've known you forever, so it's you know how that goes. And it's always the you know our hearts are simpatico, and we want the same thing. And I've been fortunate to um, traverse this often rugged terrain in learning who we truly are, and learning the value of forgiveness, and to make that journey with numbers. I guess I would have to say numbers. We started out, and I used to come to Denver and have a class in a church and have one person show up. And I really did that sort of staff and sandals kind of memory, where there's something in your genes that just wants you to go out and share this course. And it didn't matter to me. It really didn't matter to me if I got to talk with anyone. Of course, in those days, a lot of the talking was about, and that can go on for some time, and many years. And what I was noticing just before we met, Bruce, was I was thinking about the difference between talking about and moving into actually not being separate from the words you're saying. Like, I'm not separate from the words I'm saying right now, and I can feel that, and I can feel that kind of, reaching out and touching the hearts of the reader in a book, now in written language instead of spoken language, because I've had my share of speaking and talking about the course. But this book, How to Be Truly Helpful in a Hopeless, I could put in parentheses, seeming world. But most people believe it's a world, and they're starting to believe that it's hopeless. And I think we have a very strong message. I'm very clear about it. And we have evidence now that it works. We have a community of brothers, and we actually have begun to feel the benefits of learning together, coming together, and actually me not student, you not me not teacher, you not student, but you're learning and I'm learning, and we're all learning, and we're sharing the experience together of being happy learners. I, in my wildest dreams,
It's tremendous, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could not have wanted anything more.
And then I'd have to say the timing is impeccable, and well, more than a year and a half ago, coming up on 2 years now in March. Um, I appreciated the fact that what you and Tim were doing with, a few times a week became almost daily online classes and interactions that in growing numbers of fellow course students. And like you say, we're all learning together, and that community that has developed around that has been just really wonderful. And people come and go, but there's a core that's continued with that process. And regardless of whether someone is there or not for a particular meeting, there's an awareness that we're all not just the people who have attended, even we're all in that same process of undoing an insane thought system that really never never impacted the truth of what we are. And I really appreciate the becoming learners together idea, because we're really learning together how we are so much more than the sum of the parts, and that sense of community is palpable. Yeah.
That was the first website. That was
Mm-hmm.
my first website way
Mm-hmm.
back. Becoming Learners Together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was so convinced that we had to become happy learners,
Mm-hmm.
happy about learning from an unseen, unheard, invisible teacher that, we heretofore had not learned from. And, how do you accomplish that? And how better than for people to begin to share, oh, I get it, oh, I get it. And, now know how the Holy Spirit speaks to me. I know how the Holy Spirit directs me. I know how everything is given and just shows up when and where you need it on a need to know basis. It's just that, the goal might be, to experience that we are in a state of grace here, and what that actually means, and share the experiences that seem to tell us, teach us that everything is given. That's just extraordinary. At the very first chapter of the Course, he says, your spirit is in a state of grace forever. Your reality is only spirit, therefore you are in a state of grace forever. Well, why not see, what the real world is like? And why not put it out there that there really is another world for us to embrace and see? And of course, over and over and over, forgiveness. We know, Bruce, that's the main thing that I keep hearing when I feel spoken to. And when I feel spoken to, it's like it's like an impression, but it's not just, it's, you will do this. This is what is part of what you signed on for, and I know everybody has those things. I just have been finding in more recent years the less I struggle against the Holy Spirit and listening, like this morning. This morning I went to Rules for Decision, and I make no decisions by myself. Well, this morning I needed to remember that I make no decisions by myself. And as the Course says, we, all of us, here's how it works. Here's how seeing works. You look within first. You look with the teacher that you embrace, the Holy Spirit or the ego, and you decide who's going to walk through this day with you, who is going to be your guide, your companion, your teacher, and give you the words to speak and the ears to hear, and who's going to be doing that. And to know, first of all, that I have a choice. That's one of the big things that Truly Helpful, the book, is going to be about, is you've got to learn you have a choice. Everyone, reader, I don't care if you think you have a spiritual bone in your body. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can learn. You can learn it so easy that you have a mind, because you can learn how to change it. And once you know what you're changing, and there's evidence that, oh my God, I changed my mind, something just happened, you begin to get the power of your mind. Once we know the power of our mind, then we can make right-minded choices. We can be truly helpful. But seriously, truly helpful, to be truly helpful, my mind has to be healed. Your mind, reader, has to be healed. And then you are naturally, effortlessly, truly helpful. And that's what we need here. And forgiveness is the way. And the book Truly Helpful, really, Bruce, is an invitation to the reader to please learn true forgiveness, because that's what's going to save the world. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a completely different world, and it's only the one looking that needs to change. And all he needs to change is which teacher is he going to go through his day with. Are you going to go through your day with the ego as your teacher, and selfishness and getting your needs met is your only goal? Or are you going to go through with a teacher that's going to teach you what reality is, and who you are, and how to heal your mind completely, and by doing so, save the world? It's such an incredible process. And I'm so grateful for the many students that have come to us these last 2 years. I do believe COVID has driven many people to seek another way, and all of our problems, seeming problems, every single one of them is in my mind. It's not out there. It's in that change of, am I here to be truly helpful and heal of these disasters, this constant barrage of hate and suffering and pain. And you are responsible for it. I am responsible for it. We are responsible for what we see. We see it because we looked within and we saw nothing but chaos and confusion in our minds. And then we projected it outward. And now we think there's a world out there. It's it's such a tragedy, and yet it's not, because both Bruce and I could say, you know, it's a hallucination because our teacher has told us it's a hallucination. You put it out there. However, until it disappears on us, we are not going to believe it's a hallucination.
Right.
I don't know about you, Bruce.
Well, yeah, that you bring up a lot of great points there, and yeah, certainly the Course Course in Miracles says, what if you knew this world was an hallucination? What if you knew that you made it up? And all those that seem to walk about it and suffer and die are just figments of your imagination. Well, I find that it's particularly helpful as kind of a stepping stone to that, to remember that I constantly, left to my own silly devices, and interpreting, and instead of allowing and making it, narrowing down and distorting and limiting and filtering the raw information of a dream and taking that information and interpreting it in crazy ways. And something you said in one of your classes several years ago, that really I found helpful, was the difference between interpretation and translation. And the ego interprets, and I would say misinterprets literally everything. And the Holy Spirit translates, and basically without changing the meaning that is there. And then the meaning that would be there would have to be, if it's real, would have to be one of forgiveness, kindness, innocence, letting everyone off the hook for what never happened in truth and eternity. And so that's been a really valuable tool for me. That, just remembering that if I'm trying to make something out of the world on my own, I'm going to misinterpret everything and not see the gift that's there, and the grace, like you were talking about earlier. Another thing you said a few moments ago that kind of struck me as funny, it was the phrase "need to know," and I was thinking about the military's policy of if, depending on what rank you're in and what project you're on, you have to qualify for a need to know basis, right? Well, the need to know basis in the Course isn't anything external. It's we have to want to know, and that's where the need to know comes from. And it's really, I think, like Helen and Bill said, there must be a better way. I want to know, and there's the need right there. I need to know there's a better way. And Holy Spirit's just, yay, finally. you want to know, you want to learn, you want to unlearn the misinterpretations and hear my translations. Anyway, thank you for all of that and so much more. So yeah.
Yeah. The need to know basis, where that originally came from, was Nisargadatta. He would tell his students, when you're climbing a tree in the dark, you only need to know where the next limb is.
Yeah.
And if we're walking forward in the dreamscape, we really only need to know where the next step is, sort of. That's kind of I felt it. He was saying, and it does really show up. Our life just shows up as it is to unfold. Sometimes quite surprising, I think.
Yeah. Another metaphor that comes to mind is sort of like we're being guided through a dark jungle in our mind. And so we don't usually have the grand vista of the path before us. We usually just get the next step or two because we put ourselves into a frame of mind where, we don't have that insight. But there is always a place in our mind that the Course calls the Holy Spirit that does, and that knows how to help us avoid all the pitfalls and place our feet very surely, metaphorically, to the next step each time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I always have the question, what is the ingredient that has someone hear this, hear this another way, or hear, any extension that we're making. I guess if I'm right-minded, I would say, well, that extension must be guaranteed arrival at the right places in the right time, in the right way. And my only concern, and your only concern, and our only concern, is to be truly helpful and to just keep forgiving and putting messages of forgiveness and inviting and saying, this really could look different to you. This really could, reader, this whole world could look very, very different to you, not in form, but you are here, I am here, Bruce is here, with only an interest in learning. That would be one thing. It's a classroom. And our purpose is, as we started out, being learners, being happy learners, and being, well, here's one of the requirements. One has to be humble enough to question the reality of what you believe presently. What you believe presently, what if you're wrong? If the mind isn't, I think that's kind of the beginning of the stirrings. I think we wake up when we've had enough sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Just like at night, we wake up when we've had enough sleep. And when we've had enough sleeping and dreaming of a world that's full of sickness, pain, suffering, and death, along with sin, guilt, and fear, and abandonment and betrayal, and you name it, when we've had enough of dreaming that, victims and victimizers, and on, stories of suffering, and on and on. There's no end to it. And when we've had enough of that, maybe the stirrings of like, maybe I've had enough sleep. Maybe there's another way. That's it exactly. There's got to be another way.
Mm-hmm.
And if this last 2 years hasn't driven more and more people to say, do I want to continue to be right about this being reality? Do I really want to be right about that? What if it's not? Well, there's a whole bunch of us that has learned it can morph and change in a heartbeat. It's nothing. That's why reality doesn't change. Reality is. It doesn't come and go. Life doesn't begin and end. Those are all lies that we believe in. And don't say we've been taught to believe in them. We came believing in them, or we wouldn't be here. We made it up that way.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ideas in the course that Course in Miracles is really powerful. Is that we arrive here with full-blown intact egos that are purposively have chosen to find a goatscape, I like to call it, a place to find scapegoats, and perpetuate the victim-victimizer myth. Thinking that somehow we're going to get some benefit from it. And then when, like you say, when we get to the point where it's like, maybe there's another option than than dreaming this nightmarish dream, that doesn't seem to have any exit. And there's a voice in our mind that always says, yeah, there is. There's another way to look at this. And we can wake up. We can see things differently. And I'm reminded of those early workbook lessons, just, the willingness to question, like, what if I've given everything the meaning that it has for me? And what if it doesn't have to mean what I think it means, by default, from an ego perspective? What if there could be an opportunity to see things as a call for love, or an opportunity to forgive myself for what I've been projecting? Yeah.
Yeah. It's healing, which is what we're up to, healing. The end of the manifesto, I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Well, that means it would be in my best interest if I saw opportunities to heal everywhere. That, this is the Course. It says, you see only love or calls for love. Well, the calls for love are, I love this. I don't know where I read it or heard it, but if you see your brother's seemingly not right-minded behavior, whatever that behavior might be, but if you see that, if I see that as a call for love, and I see it as God calling to me to ask me to learn what it means to heal. And now the Holy Spirit has to show me, because I have no idea how to see the way the Holy Spirit sees. But if I'm a happy learner, if I'm really willing, and I let go of what I think I saw out there, and I say, show me the meaning of what I behold. Show me the meaning. And I let go completely of what I think that meant, that behavior, that word, that thought, whatever that he did, that brother out there. And I let the Holy Spirit teach me how he sees. I would want to be seeing opportunities for healing everywhere, instead of condemnation, like, here's what my brother did, and so I think we can learn together to accelerate our learning together by, as you've been saying a lot, Bruce, I've been hearing you say it a lot recently. Love or calls for love. Love or calls for love. There isn't anything else to see but love or calls for love. Can you imagine if we could get that out into the world, and people could begin, my brothers, myself, all of us could begin to experience the joy of learning what healing truly is? It's not about healing behavior or, it's about learning that the Holy Spirit in my mind will connect to the Holy Spirit in my brother's mind, and we're going to learn we're the same one.
That sameness and shared interest is so huge, isn't it?
Unless you don't want to learn that
Right.
you're not
Right.
one. You want to be special and separate. There's the problem, right? There's the rub right there.
Yeah.
I want everyone to have the love of God that I let into my club.
It's funny, when you said there's a rub, I was picturing stones that fall into a river, and it may take millions of years, but eventually they'll be pretty well polished, smooth, and round, and and the rough edges will come off. But we have a speed tumbler, I guess, in our mind, which is the Holy Spirit's forgiveness classroom that will take out the rough edges off a little quicker, I suppose, right? Just by the willingness to look and see where we're wanting to exclude someone from the grace that we all have. Yeah.
I think, Bruce, this is happening more and more, I think. Moments when I actually feel defenseless. I have no need to defend at all. It's just not there. You know, I guess that's the same as invulnerability. I don't know, but there are those moments when, you know, somebody might say something and it could be taken the wrong way, or they could, look at me the wrong way and it could be taken the wrong way. And it's got to be the Holy Spirit's interpretation, of course, which is it just neutralizes everything. Mm-hmm. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's not, it's neutral. It's not anything that I have to protect myself from. So that's, maybe it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles in it, like the ego always likes to be excited and trumped up and, whatever. It's just, it's not mean either, and it's not nasty either. It's, I think of it as affectionate awareness. Just, interested, looking, but without judgment. It's really quite simple. That place, I guess it's part of discovering that place in our mind, that holy instant, and understanding that we could be there all the time, where there's just looking without anything between, like the veil is lifted, maybe. I don't know what that means exactly, but it just feels like there's nothing between us. Even a stranger. Yeah. You know how sometimes you catch yourself at the checkout counter or something and your eyes meet with the person, and it just doesn't matter who they look like or what anything, but your eyes just meet, and it's like you just want to go.
That same example crossed my mind, since that's probably maybe what most people have as their predominant interactions out of their households in the last year and a half or two. It's an occasional grocery or gas station attendant interaction. So that's a pretty good example, actually. But yeah, so why not just whoever we happen to be with, or even thinking of? It's like, oh yeah, we're all in it together. We're all, seemingly fighting the same hard battle. But then, like you say, there's moments where it's like, oh yeah, I could just see peace instead of this. I could just drop this, put down my sword and shield, all together, and just say, wow, what a relief. This time of year, one of my favorite movies, and I think you and Tim have enjoyed it too, is Joy Noel, where in the World War I that they had the ceasefire at Christmas, and they all just said, enough of this crap. We're going to take the night off and celebrate Christmas together. And they all kind of went across the barbed wire, and had fun playing soccer and exchanging photos of loved ones and sharing brandy and that kind of stuff. But it was like, if we can think of that as a symbol of, it's this time to just, not just have a momentary truce, but consider the idea, maybe we could end the war in our mind altogether and really experience the peace that's possible there and
Yeah.
generalize. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what do we got to lose, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all nothing. Well, I mean, it's easy to say that it's all nothing, but it's not nothing until we realize
Right.
it, it can disappear.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
And we wouldn't want to make light of anything that anyone is going through, you know, because on a daily basis, we all have things that come up. But like you say, it's almost like with practice, it seems like if we can listen to Holy Spirit's translation instead of ego's interpretation, the things can kind of, you know, they register, but they don't take root. It's just like, you know, look, you know, a little fleck of dust or a leaf or a feather that just, you know, so much for that. But, you know, that takes a lot of practice. So we need to be patient with ourselves, you know, when we find ourselves in the throes of things. Right?
but, and it's inspiring.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Someone say, you know, this does work, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, this really does work.
Right.
Now, there's a difference between forgiveness and true forgiveness. And this is something that I think we really have been given a particular mission with that, in the sense of wanting to bring that in the forefront and make sure that forgiveness is understood. I don't know fully how we do that, but I think we've become pretty skillful. Is always because the more we rely on the Holy Spirit, the more we rely on our inner teacher around the idea of true forgiveness, and keep asking for help, that I think we'll become quite adept at the practice and quite adept at helping others to understand what forgiveness to destroy is and what true forgiveness is. Forgiveness, I'll just say it as briefly as possible, but forgiveness to destroy is a way of preserving separation, because forgiveness to destroy sees someone else as having done something that deserves condemnation. And then they decide to let them off the hook. That's forgiveness to destroy. It makes me better than the other person, and it preserves my special identity, being better than, smarter than, different than you. And it preserves the problem also, or the imagined problem. I get to keep it in my mind. He still did that, but I'm going to let him off the hook. So that's forgiveness to destroy. True forgiveness is our goal here at School for A Course in Miracles, and being able to live it and teach it and share it, which is the Holy Spirit becomes your teacher and your guide, and you see only love and calls for love. You don't see errors. You don't see things that people deserve to be punished for. You just don't go there and make it real. You don't make it real for yourself, and you don't make it real for them. So that's to become consistent in that place within us where we were just talking about, where you look at the dream, and forgiveness looks and watches, waits, and judges not and does nothing essentially, that's that state where you're no longer having to seek enemies. You no longer have to seek problems. It's your steady state of forgiveness is with you, and we all aspire to that. And Bruce, I'd like to hear how you think of it, because it's I view it as what we got to learn. We really do have to learn.
Yeah, I keep coming back to that the old Ken Wapnick's favorite 2 workbook lessons of 5 and 34. If I'm never upset for the reason I think, and I could see peace instead of this, but even before that, if I even get to that place in my mind where I kind of run through those ideas, it almost always seems like the first thing that registers is the need to truly forgive is if I'm not at peace. If I'm not feeling peaceful, it's like, oh, I have to be willing to look at the idea that maybe I chose the wrong teacher and the wrong interpreter. and the one who's going to misinterpret is going to see specific things. And it doesn't mean that we just block our eyes and ears and say, no, I'm not going to let the sensory data from the world in. It's just that we're willing to question the interpretations that we've given so long that make wrong and not see the I guess it's kind of like the lesson 182 child in all of us that really would love to go home. Yeah. And being willing to see that in not instead of necessarily, but in spite of sometimes what our perceptions, just taken at face value seem to show us. But wanting, kind of like where the Course says, it doesn't ask that we not see bodies. It just means that you would want to see the spirit, and you would want to see the innocence, and that would be your first choice. And when we make, like you say, make that consistent, then that becomes a habit.
Yeah, and that shows up often as an internal seeing, not necessarily images, but somehow you see, the way I say it, differently. You see it differently, and you've actually seen it, because this is a hard one for all of us to get, but eyes don't see and ears don't hear. They are just reporting mechanisms that are, showing us what we want to see. And so that's not the same as that experience when, we do look within and we ask for help, and we use the word see because we don't have any other words to use. It's like vision, experience. Yeah, but it's lovely.
The other quote that comes to mind that I just ran across this morning was, the things in the world merely give form to our desire. That's a really helpful phrase too. In other words, like you say, the thing that we think we're seeing really are just choices that are reflections of a choice for one of 2 thought systems.
Where was that, Bruce?
I'll have to find it again, but it's something like we merely give form to your desire, your wish.
Yeah. Desire gives form to your desire.
Yeah. I could probably find it quick enough, but yeah.
Well, it can't not occur that what we desire, we are going to make manifest. For example, the big one is peace, of course. A universal experience is not only possible, but it's necessary. God knows it's necessary now. And, I think it's in chapter 12 or 14 where he talks so beautifully and clearly about you look within first and find the peace within first. Find it within yourself, and you will And he uses the word make it manifest in some sort of way you'll see it. So, there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought Ken used to use the UNESCO charter, um,
Right.
which was wars begin in the minds of men, and it's in the minds of men that wars will end. So, yeah, when there would be no need for enemies. Who would need an enemy if you don't want to go to war? If you've given up the war in your mind, you can't fight.
Mhm.
Just not there.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets back to that being truly helpful. And I was thinking about the Hippocratic Oath of, which is really, if we can subtract all the ways that we would do harm, above all else, do no harm. I think isn't that the Hippocratic Oath that doctors
Yes, yes.
supposedly are bound to, or hopefully adhere to. And it's like, well, if we could all, practice that healing practice in our mind and say, okay, I just have to be willing to subtract all the things that would harm, and what's left is truly helpful. And the only thing that could possibly harm is a belief in separation, or that we're different, and that we could benefit in any way by um, being unkind or fixated on a win-lose scenario. Yeah.
I just started the other day not reading, listening to one of Ken's very late CD sets. I think it's 12 discs, and it's called Weeding Our Garden.
Oh yeah.
And it's all about our aggressive instincts and learning the myriad of forms that instinct, that aggressiveness of humans, the, the forms that it takes, and the ways in which we disguise it and deny it and project it. And it, it, it's our imagined need that we have to attack. That's there within all of us. Everyone who comes here, comes to this world, has that fear of what's going to be done to us is what we did, and that there's going to be hell to pay, there's going to be suffering and pain and all of that, and so we walk around with a need, an imagined need to be on guard, to be ready to attack at any moment. And it's Freud even pointed out that babies have it. Babies scream with anger. And so, we came trailing clouds of glory, as Wordsworth said, but we also came, trailing some other stuff too, which, yeah, here we are again.
Mhm.
I guess I give myself away on that, but maybe it goes on and on until we get it, until we rise up and resurrect and get that there's only mind. Life is in the mind. There's only the mind, and our home is there within the mind of God. Let's find out.
Yeah, yeah. What comes to mind is I tend to paraphrase when I think of a Simon and Garfunkel song about the zoo, and their lyrics is something tells me it's all happening at the zoo. Well, when I hear that, I usually think, well, something tells me it's all happening in the mind. and 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 then it goes on. I do believe it. I do believe it's true. Well, I think we have to work up to that recognition, and until we realize that, well, what if it really is all in the mind?
Yeah,
What if,
yeah.
back to the hallucination thing? It's like,
And here we are thinking we're on the road, but we're on the road to nowhere until we get back to the decision maker.
yeah, yeah. Our minds are an idol, as the course says. That's which I think is another great double entendre. It's like not only are we doing nothing, but we're going nowhere, kind of like a car that's in neutral, or one, if you put it in up on blocks, and you could even have it in drive, but if you don't have the engagement and the purchase, as my grandpa used to say, of the wheels onto the ground, you're not going to go anywhere. We need the mesh of the traction of the Holy Spirit to get somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is home to where we never left, I suppose, right?
I love that use of the word. You don't have the purchase. Like you don't own it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandpa used that, and with the analogy of a hammer and a nail. You get purchase on that. But when I was building something in my aunt and uncle's cabin at one time. Yeah.
My dad used to say that. It's interesting. My dad was an Englishman. Was your grandfather an Englishman?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's unusual.
Other nationalities there too, but certainly that too. Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Well, anyway, thank you again, Lyn, for, I'm not sure how much you want to go on about what you're writing and what the school is doing. I want to make sure people know that they can find out what you and Tim Wise are doing at schoolforacourseofmiracles.org or sfacim.org. If either one will work, and get to the website, and there's a wonderful depth and breadth and wealth of material there. And you have classes almost every day of the week, and they're all wonderful, and couldn't recommend them more highly. And we're all eager to see what transpires with your writing. And again, thank you for taking the time today to share with me about the course and all the great things that are happening, particularly the community. I think that's something that I was, I guess, sort of not totally unexpected, but it's been a delight to see, the connection and the feeling of an extended family that's grown as a result of the stepping up of that curriculum. So.
Yeah, I really get the feeling of we're being I don't know, used. We're offering ourselves, and we're getting certainly the path seems to get laid out before us. I did want to mention the Tuesday class because it's specifically around truly helpful. I think I think of it as a lab, so to speak, because it's where we're having an earnest exploration of learning to be truly helpful and what that means, and how people are having experiences that may or may not become part of the book here and there, to have stories that actually you get the idea of how this process works and why this beautiful manifesto, I call it. Could I read that for a closing?
Oh, of course. That sounds perfect. Sure.
So our listeners can hear this, because it outlines so clearly the process that we each go through to heal our own minds. And it's on, I think, page 27 or 29, early on in the course anyway. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bruce. I enjoyed being with you always.
Very much likewise. Very much likewise.
Have a good one.
You too.
Mhm.